Today you're going to learn about how mixing in mono can help you get better mixes. It can help make mixing decisions way quicker and easier. And I mix in mono all the time. So we're going to dig into this in more detail. But first, make sure to download the companion guide to this video, the Mixing Workflow Cheat Sheet. You can download it by following the link in the description. It outlines a few different ways to approach the mixing process. But here's the thing. No matter which approach you use from this workflow cheat sheet, mixing in mono can help simplify things. So let's get to the fun stuff. This is Jake with Musician on a Mission. Thanks for stopping by. Today we're talking about mixing in mono, collapsing the left to right information into the center. Now, there are a couple of ways that this can benefit you. The first is with just simply balancing levels. So I've got a session open here, and what I like to do after I've got everything organized and everything set up is bring down all of my faders and then start to get an initial balance in mono. And honestly, it just makes it a little bit easier on the brain for me not to have to think about the left to right information, not to have to think about any kind of panning. I'm just thinking about the relationship of the tracks to one another in terms of volume. And after I've got that in place, bam, I'll open it up to stereo, and then I'll start to focus on more the panning information, the left to right information, knowing that I've already got a killer balance in mono. So in order to collapse everything to mono, some audio interfaces actually have a physical button on the front. Some monitor controllers have a button on them, but we're going to do this inside of the DAW. So I'm going to come over here to the stereo out. I'm going to open up this trim plugin in Logic Pro, and you'll see they've got a mono option. Boop, boop. We're just going to keep that on. And when we want to turn mono mode on, we'll just activate the plugin, turn it off, we'll deactivate. All right, we're going to start with it on. If you are not using Logic Pro, the DAW you're using has a mono feature somewhere in some plugin or in some way. Nothing a quick Google search won't help you out with, right? So now that we are in mono, let's quickly get an initial balance for our track. And just to save a little bit of time, we're actually going to time travel through the actual process to the end of the balance. So time traveling now. So here we are, safe and sound in the future with an initial balance in mono. Let's check it out. Okay, sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty solid in mono. Now let's open it up to stereo, see what we got. So now that we've got a nice initial balance, we may need to make some tweaks here and there, but for the most part, this sounds pretty solid. So now I can start to focus on panning. Is there anything in here that I want to pan to one side or the other? Maybe I want to come over here and listen for this tambourine. What are we doing here? Okay, maybe I want to bring that tambourine over to the right. Let's see, what else do we got here? We've got this fuzz guitar that's going straight up the center right now, which I actually don't mind, but let's play around with the panning on that. We'll duck it to the left just a little bit to get out of the way of the lead vocal. And we're working with all drum samples for this particular session, so everything has been bounced automatically in the correct panning position. So that's kind of nice. We don't have to mess around with that. If these were real drums, we'd have to find where they are in the overheads and pan them accordingly. So the point here is that mixing in mono can help simplify the process. It allows you to just focus on one thing at a time. Levels first, and then open it up to stereo, get your panning in place, get your mix nice and wide. Now, another area that mixing in mono can really help in is creating separation between instruments, making sure that each instrument has its own space. So by folding your mix into mono, it can help reveal frequency masking, or where multiple instruments or elements in your mix might be competing with one another. So for example, let's take a look at guitars and organ. I'm going to go ahead and isolate those. Let's listen in stereo. Okay, these are both pretty broadband type elements, right? So if we fold that up into mono, let's listen to how these two things are kind of competing with each other. Right, both very mid-rangey type of elements. So now that I know that those two elements are competing with one another, if I can get them good and give them their own space in mono, nice and clear, and create a lot of separation between those elements, as soon as I open it up to stereo, it's going to be that much better, and it's going to have that much more of an impact, and it's going to be that much clearer in the mix. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little processing on these tracks, get them nice and dialed in mono. And first thing I'm seeing here is a lot of dynamic inconsistency with the organ, so we're going to address that first. Like, look at that meter. That's all over the place. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to slam that with a limiter. Now, I've added a little bit of gain to that, so we're going to compensate. Bring it back down in the mix. Maybe not that much. So I've taken care of dynamics there with the organ. It's already sounding a little bit better. It's a little bit more present when we put it together with the guitars. But now let's just do a few EQ moves here to tighten things up. And again, we're just going to time travel through this. Here we go. Okay, so here we are once again on the other side of time travel, safe and sound. We've got our two EQs here, organ on this side, guitars on this side. Let's take a listen first without EQ and then with. Okay, so I decided that I wanted the guitars sitting above the organ here, so we boosted a little bit of the presence range here, and we gave the guitars a little top-end boost. And then we boosted a little bit more of the mid-range here for the organ, and took away some of that presence area. So I've got the organ sitting below the guitars right now. So now that we've got these two elements separated with EQ in mono, let's switch from mono to stereo to see what kind of difference this has and see how it translates. Here we go. So guitars, nice and bright. There's some pretty clear separation there now, right? Guitars, nice and bright, nice and present. Organ, more kind of centered, still wavering from side to side. That we can tell when we open it up to stereo, but definitely sitting much lower in the mix. Now, I gotta be honest, I don't just save EQing in mono for elements that are likely to compete with one another. I actually mix everything in mono. I EQ everything in mono. I'll add compression in mono, and I'll get just a banging, killer mix. And then when I open it up, I'm almost like surprised at how clear and punchy everything sounds, right? So bottom line, if you can get your mix sounding awesome in mono, it's gonna sound even better in stereo. I'm telling you, give it a shot. You just might love it. Now, this is just one small mixing tip. It's just a tiny little nugget. It's not like a magic bullet that's going to make all your mixes sound incredible. It will definitely help, but there are other things that you still have to get right in order to get your music sounding professional, right? So that's why Rob, the founder of Musician on a Mission, put together a free workshop. He shares the 7 steps of making radio-ready music at home. And what you're going to see is that Rob shares a completely new approach to home recording and mixing that's going to help you do all of this much, much faster. And it hasn't just worked for him. We're talking over 36,000 people have already been through this workshop and seen results in a matter of days. So now it's your turn. If you want to learn the exact 7 steps that are going to take your mixes to a professional level in under a year and avoid wasting time, money, and effort on the wrong things, then go and watch the free workshop now. You can either click the link you see on the screen or head to the link in the bio to get access. It is completely free and just an awesome, awesome opportunity. So if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. That's all for now. Jake with Musician on a Mission signing off. And remember, create regardless.